Welcome to the LouCas Baseball Podcast, brought to you by DrRoto.com. On today's show, we're going over our favorite waiver wire and FAAB additions for the week. We have them broken into 12-team and 15-team league ads. We'll end the show with our Adam and Cut 'em segment. These available players based on our personal NFBC leagues. Joined here by my co-host, Lucas Beery. Lucas, we have some prospects, some former prospects, guys getting full-time at-bats, closer committees, and much more here today.
Yeah, it's not necessarily any elite names or any, massive prospects like last week with Edward Cabrera being a former big prospect. But we have some contributors that are going to come up, and it's going to be kind of fun diving into them.
Well, let's dive right in then with Lane Thomas. Not only is he getting full-time at bats, but over the last week he's really been producing 10 runs, 3 homers, 5 RBIs, 438 batting average. If you play in a league with 5 outfielders and IL spots, you are likely in need of another bat right now because the waiver wires are more thin, and with all the injuries that have taken place, you're probably hurting in some league. If you play in multiple leagues, I'd certainly add him and ride the bat while it's hot, but even when it does cool down, Lucas, in your notes that you sent over, the full-time at-bats, that's the big thing to me. Those everyday at-bats make him worthy of maintaining a spot on a roster.
Yeah, right now, and on a poor team in Washington, they are giving him everyday at-bats. And with all the platoons going on, I know this is a discussion point in the offseason. You don't want an outfielder that's going to have those platoon risk or situation. But yeah, Lane Thomas, being only 26 years old, I think they're going to give him a full test drive this whole season. I think he's not amazing. He's not very good really against right-handed pitching, but if he can keep his head above water and hit good against lefties, I think that you could get a solid little contributor.
Well, how about one of his teammates in Luis Garcia? We talked about him last week, bro. 15-team league additions, though. This week, due to the recent success he's had in the bigs, something he has lacked in the past, which is something we also touched upon, he's ready to contribute in the 12-team formats, I think. He's hitting the ball with more authority, also making a lot more contact. Previous MLB stints, he racked up a solid amount of extra base hits, but lacked in other areas. So far, this time around, though, showing improvements. He's going to get a lot of opportunity on a team that is fully rebuilding and looking to the future. So this is a guy I'm definitely in on.
Absolutely. We've mentioned it before. We'll mention it again. These bad teams are where the pop-up players are going to come up since there's opportunities. With Luis Garcia, you think that he's more than likely going to be a help in batting average, but uh, max exit velocity, he set a career high against Edward Cabrera at a 113.4. And last year, his max exit velocity was a 109.6. So
when you throw like 110 miles per hour, like Edward Cabrera does, you're bound to hit the ball hard when you hit it, right?
Yeah, and the fact that he's already a good plate discipline kid with nice contact, if you can tap into some power, all of a sudden, if he's a 20 home run or 22 home run with a 270 average, I mean, that's a really nice addition. So I like it a lot.
And this goes back years and years and years, but I'm sure you remember young kids coming up and they have all these extra base hits, tons of doubles, and everyone always says those doubles are going to turn into homers eventually. Those doubles are going to turn into homers eventually. We see it all the time. I mean, I'm not going to say Luis Garcia is going to be Manny Machado, but remember when Machado came up, doubles machine, and then they started turning into homers, and so on and so forth. So this is one of those kids that could be that 20, 25 homer guy at some point, like you said, as those doubles turn into homers. I should just call this episode Doubles into Homers.
Yeah, and just turned 22 less than a month ago. I mean, we see these players come up and can sour on them quickly, but age to level, he's been so impressive. So you got to love what you're seeing with Luis Garcia. Just going to throw this out there real quick. I did unfortunately have to trade him away in a dynasty league. There was a few other players, but I did get Tyler Mahle back. I'm loving the potential 10 strikeouts per 9 with Mahle, but sometimes you got to give to get, and it was a tough one.
Give to get is definitely the name of the game if you want to make a good trade.
Yep.
Not to say that every trade's going to be a good one, but I'm with you there. Gabriel Moreno hasn't flashed much power in the minor leagues, but 12 in 2019, 8 last year. What he has done, though, ton of contact, average lead on base percentage, getting the official call to the big leagues today. So you'll see him in the lineup probably for the Jays game Saturday afternoon or night, whenever it is, and joining a very talented lineup at that. Danny Jansen injured again. Moreno should see regular time behind the plate, especially with Alejandro Kirk being a bat first type of player. Kirk will see a lot of time at DH, I think, continue to, and Moreno's going to get his fair opportunity behind the dish.
Yeah, man, in terms of just the player profile, future outlook, my goodness, this is such an exciting player, potentially better than even a Kyber Ruiz, who I know a lot of people were super optimistic about. And that's kind of what you're getting here with Moreno being a future 60 value player with plenty of hit tool, plenty of power, premium lineup,
Am
great
I
ALE.
nuts? Am I nuts to say that I could see him having a career trajectory like Joe Mauer?
That's a little nuts, but maybe a 5% chance of it. Let's put it that way.
I
So,
mean, because I know Mauer at some time did hit for power, but for a long time he was just a pure contact on base machine. And I honestly see Moreno profiling that way. I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer necessarily or have as much success, but I could see him his like profile being similar to that. Eventually the power will come, but just a very, 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 very good hitter.
yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, this is one of the few players that you can at least put in that discussion in terms of young catcher with like an Adley Rushman and maybe even a Kyber Ruiz. But I think that Moreno's probably has a better future. I, yeah, we don't doubt the talent. I'm a little concerned about the fact that it is a logjam with all their catchers up in Toronto. I
Yeah,
have
for
emailed.
this year, I was going to
Yeah,
ask you, for this year, it's a little interesting and a little concerning because how much do you want to bid? We've seen all the money that went on Melendez. If you didn't hold on to him after the draft, we saw all the money for Rushman in the same situation. Melendez been good. Rushman hasn't been good. I think Moreno will be good, but the difference
yeah,
between Rushman and Melendez and Moreno is Melendez and Rushman aren't going anywhere. How long does
exactly.
Moreno remain in the big leagues? Does he come up, hit the ground running, and continue to stay in the big leagues and the Jays maybe trade a guy like Danny Jansen? Or does he come up, fill in, and then get the call later in the season? How much FAAB can you really spend?
Yeah, and in our notes that we had kind of set up here, I this is not going to get him, but I would feel comfortable with $25 to $40 a fab. Now he might go a lot more, especially if it's a home run. If you want him, you're hoping that he has a couple of offers, but solid at bats that just don't materialize on the box scores. But yeah, I think 25 to 40 is my limit, and where I'm dry on money under $500 and $1,000 league, I think 10 to 12 is my highest there.
So, of my redraft leagues, um, the only places I would consider him would be in a place where I have Narvaez
Yeah,
and Mejia as my catchers. I
yeah,
would
I think.
not consider him in a league where I have Gary Sanchez and Melendez, though. I would not consider him in a league where I have d'Arnaud and Sean Murphy
Mhm.
or d'Arnaud and Melendez. So it also depends on your current catcher situation, especially in the leagues with no trades. In all those leagues I mentioned, there's no trades. So
Yes.
having that third quality catcher does nothing for me.
No, it doesn't. And obviously you shouldn't carry three catchers on those types of leagues,
But
but
can we agree that he's an upgrade to Mejia and possibly even Narvaez?
in a 12-team league, absolutely. And even in a 15-team league, I think that's okay. You just have to come with the understanding that if you do drop Narvaez for Moreno, Narvaez will likely get scooped up the next week, and if Moreno gets sent back to AAA Buffalo, then all of a sudden you're looking at a Jacob
And
Stallings,
that's
which could be
why I brought
riskier.
it up because it goes back to
Yes.
we don't know his playing time. For me, I'm
Yeah.
probably not bidding because of that. I worry about getting 2, 3 weeks and then losing
Yep.
it. Obviously, if you're rostering purely backup catchers or guys, it's worth a shot. But if you have even top 25
Yeah.
caliber catchers right now in a 15 teamer, I don't think you can do it. In a 12 teamer, I actually think you could take the risk more because there's more guys available.
The only way that I would, be cool with that as far as, if you can have three catchers, I know it's rough to do, but if you do by some chance not have too many injuries and you can tuck away three catchers, maybe you can give it a shot, but that's probably very few teams with so many injuries that are ongoing.
I'm with you there. Anything else on Moreno?
No, again, I just think that the talent's premium, but you just can't go extremely aggressive because his future is so unknown. Even though he could hit and stay, you just don't know.
Definitely. Kyle Farmer on fan tracks. I've seen him with eligibility at first, second, third, and shortstop, Lucas. I know that can't be the case on NFBC, but a lot of people play on fan tracks, and that alone with that eligibility makes him valuable, considering he also sees regular playing time. Suddenly, you got a pretty useful player here. Definitely a 15 team oriented player or daily lineups, but if you're in need of a player who can play in multiple places, this is a move you can make very cheaply in a 12 team league and not feel bad about it.
No, and there's been some research out there that shows that Cincinnati's Great America Ballpark is the number one offensive environment. And if people are streaming, your Jose Iglesias's and other guys in Coors Field, why can't you do the same with Kyle Farmer, who's hitting much better than Iglesias? So I kind of like him if you're needing offense in a 12. Obviously, in a 15 teamer, he should have been taken up, but if he's not, feel free to go for him there. He's not obviously a world beater, but a league average bat in a premium hitting environment. That's a nice little recipe there.
And the no strikeouts. Uh, Ashcraft's 3-0, and 4 starts, impressive 1.14 ERA, 0.84 WHIP, 176 batting average against. Only allowed the one homer in the 23 and two-thirds inning. So even with the strikeouts only at 13, if he's pitching well like this, he should be rostered. And it's worth noting as well, in the minor leagues, K per nine was much better. It was a 10 K per nine in his 3 minor league seasons compared to just the 4.9 K per nine this year in the big league. So there could be an improvement there. And just a quick note, I believe I was on mute in the studio when I started talking on Ashcraft, so I apologize to those who are like, where did the audio go for 7 to 10 seconds?
Yeah, Ashcraft's premium velocity guy touches 98 on a regular basis. He's coming out of an underrated, underappreciated Cincinnati Reds pitching development. These guys can just get pitchers going. Lodolo was not necessarily guaranteed to be a stud. Uh, they got a lot of goodness out of Tyler Mahle and Sonny Gray. I think Graham Ashcraft is going to be the next to come. You can look at his numbers and not feel excited about what he's done in the major league level, but he does have some pretty nasty velocity. He's got a few breaking balls that he can throw in for strikes with a cutter and a slider. Pitching is really hard in 15 teamers. There's been a lot of injuries. It's just been chewed through, but I think if you're looking for a potential shot of upside as a speculative play, I do like Graham Ashcraft.
All right, well, let's move things over to 15 team ads. We'll start with Jake Berger. Since the start of June, this kid has been awesome for the White Sox. 9 runs,
Oh,
three
yeah.
homers, 7 ribbies, 407 batting average, seeing regular time at DH, and will continue to if he's hitting this well. Former top hitting prospect in their organization. I think you can expect him to get a good run of playing time. And, I mean, is he going to hit 400 the rest of the way? Hell no. But there's definitely production coming and production that can maintain.
Yeah, I love what this kid's doing with the bat. He was pretty blocked last year, and he looked blocked this year, but the White Sox have had so many injuries that he's had the chance to play, and he's provided a ton of power. 15.5% barrel rates. I mean, that's just insane. The guy can just smash home runs. Um, yeah, I don't really know what else to say other than that if he keeps hitting, he'll probably get a spot. Eloy Jimenez could potentially be coming back, which is going to maybe is almost probably going to clog up the DH spot since he was injured. But I think if he's hitting, they'll find a way to get Berger in the lineup somehow.
Yeah, I mean, they could put him in third and just move Moncada over to second base where he came up. I know that I've been saying that for a long time that Moncada could move back over to second base, but
Hmm.
maybe it'll actually finally happen. Maybe Tony La Russa can actually get creative in his old age.
I mean, and at this rate, like, I mean, who knows? Another injury could pop up, or unfortunately, Eloy could hit a setback. So I think for the moment, right now, I like Jake Berger because corner infield is really tough in 15 teamers. So I
Yep.
like Berger a
And
lot.
I like AJ Pollock, but he was basically born. He came
Yeah.
out of the womb on the injured list, basically. So I'm sure he'll be back there at some point too.
Interestingly enough, just a last note. Berger did make one appearance at second base. I'm not sure if that was just an inning or something, but he does at least have that under his resume here.
Well, maybe they'll force their hand. I mean, did we see Aaron Judge playing center field almost every
No,
day? No.
no, and the
So,
White Sox need offense. They've been struggling a lot more than, their name brand might think. So,
yep, they've definitely been struggling. Ezekiel Duran of the Texas Rangers kind of snuck up on us fantasy owners after being traded to Texas from New York in that Joey Gallo deal, but he's got power, he's got speed, he's got good on base percentage skills, showed that in the minors. Should get a good look on a team that isn't loaded with talent. And on certain sites, he has or will have both second and third base eligibility. I like Duran. Um, I liked him coming into the season, and I
yep.
think you can definitely get stolen bases from him, but also some pop.
Yeah, you were a huge fan of this kid. I know last week I liked Josh Smith, who unfortunately hit the IL and have for years. You've liked Duran for a few years, being a former Yankee farmhand. This is where you're going to find the playing time. Tough team in Texas where they have a lot of holes. You said it with Duran well. Kid has a little bit of power, a little bit of speed. Minor league strikeout rates were under 20%, which is good to see in a lot of the years. Um, he does have a tough swinging strike rate of 17%, which is just something to monitor. He's only played a handful of games, but it's a speculative ad. But as far as a little bit of pop and speed with potentially middle and corner infield, I like it.
How about Bryson Stott while we're talking about middle infield at least? I believe in Stott. I drafted him in leagues this year because of it, and then due to the struggles, I kind of had to cut him. I had no choice. Since June 1st, though, batting 333, 11 runs, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, may finally be settling into the big leagues. Has a very good lineup around him, and before others catch on to what he's done lately, I'd look to add him ASAP because there is a shortage of that second base shortstop eligible type of player in the 15 team leagues right now, and people will still probably look at the overall numbers and look at him as a guy that could be demoted. It's not going to happen. This guy's a legitimate hitter, and it was only a matter of time before he started to do it.
Yeah, he's unfortunately he's been a bit worse than I was hoping for, but lately over his last 10 games, he's hitting well over 300, showing power. We said it last week with Jose Miranda. These kids, they come up and they can have some struggles. It takes a long time to get adjusted, but Stott could be doing that. He's going to have clear runway with John Segura on the IL, so in a 15-teamer, I'll put him as a must-add if you're looking for middle infield reinforcement.
Definitely. How about Jack Sawinski? Until last year in the minors, uh, kind of underwhelmed. Wasn't on the fantasy baseball radar at all. Carried that success into the minor league season this year before getting called up to the big leagues, and definitely struggled initially, but been red hot lately, man. 6 runs, 3 homers, 5 RBIs, a steal, 417 average since the start of June, and overall 8 homers and 16 RBIs in 38 games for a bad team. You could do a lot worse.
Yeah, yeah, you certainly could do worse in a five outfielder league. It looks like he's going to have a pathway for at bats for the next few weeks at least, maybe more if he continues to produce. He has power. I mean, that is clear. He's shown it in the minor leagues, and he's hitting home runs this year. I mean, his approach is kind of like Adam Duvall, which is pretty ugly. But if you are desperate for home runs, I mean, you certainly could do worse than him since he's playing pretty regularly.
Well, that's kind of the key in 15 team leagues sometimes is the
Yep.
regular playing time, right? I mean, it needs you need to get playing time from somewhere. You can't have a full roster of loaded players in redraft leagues necessarily.
No, not unless you ran absolutely pure at the draft table. So
Yeah,
yeah,
which I mean, it does happen. Don't get me wrong.
yeah.
Um, Diego Castillo, not the Pirates infielder, but the Mariners reliever. Tough start to the season for him. Crushed your ERA and WHIP early on, especially in roto leagues. Cut by a lot of teams because of it, but he's begun to normalize a little bit here. He's also getting save opportunities here, and if that's the case, he should be rostered as long as he's in the conversation for saves. He was drafted by many because he was supposed to be in the conversation for saves. I know personally, I just lost Andrew Kittredge in a bunch of places, some of which I already have Castillo, others I've already cut Castillo. I am looking to bring him right back now because, frankly, I don't trust the Rays committee, and I don't know what to do. I think it's going to be a massive headache. So talk to me about Castillo, and then talk to me about if you have interest in that Rays committee and where you would go if you do.
Yes, let's get here with Diego. He was a guy that both you and I liked as, ninth pitcher NFBC. You're looking to maybe vulture a save, and you think that he might get 10 to 12 saves in a committee, and he'll protect your ratios and provide a lot of strikeouts. Well, Lou, that didn't happen. Over his first 13 innings, he had 8.3 K9 with 5.5 walks per nine. He wasn't right, but thankfully, and if you've watched closely, over his last 8 innings, he has a 15.7 K per nine with 1 walk per 9 innings. He made some adjustments, something happened, and he's striking everybody out. He's also been able to get some saves, and it's a fairly competitive team. The strikeouts are right. I like Diego as a ratio protector with high strikeouts and potential for some saves occasionally in a committee.
Yeah, man, I hope he continues to see him too, because I really, really, really invested a lot in him in draft and holds and redrafts, and I mean, I still think he could end up leading the team in saves, and that might only be 12 or 13, but
Yeah,
I'll
I
take
mean
that.
when you're striking at 8 per 9 and then it jumps up to 15, I don't know. I think there's been some changes with him, and I do think that he's going to be more reliable.
Yeah, he also has a track record too, which is
Yep,
key.
he has a big track record of high strikeouts and plenty of saves for his career. He's well over 30. I know that's not a crazy amount, but
It is when you consider that he just gets it a bunch every year and
yeah,
has never been the guy.
he's trustworthy enough to take the ball for sure.
Yeah. So if he was cut by people, definitely look to add him. I mentioned Kittredge and I mentioned the Rays because it's a personal thing for me. I have a lot of Kittredge, as I mentioned, and I don't trust this Rays situation now. Again, I think it's going to be a headache. I think we are
Yeah,
all just guessing at this point. Um, so for me, my answer is go pick up Diego Castillo in Seattle instead of trusting any of the Rays. But if you had to take one of these guys, if you had to kind of put some FAAB down, who are you going after?
yeah, a guy that I've actually had rostered in a few spots in hopes that he could get more of a closer role, and it looks like he could. Jason Adam. This guy's been absolutely filthy. 11K per nine with minimal walks, hasn't allowed a home run. ERA is under sub 1. He's added almost a full tick of velocity from last year. You pick up Jason Adam and you hope that you get clean ratios and some good strikeouts with an occasional save. Because, like you said, the usage pattern in Tampa is going to be wonky, especially without a proven player like Kittredge. But I think Adam can vulture the occasional save, and I think he's going to keep your ratios looking pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. There's another interesting guy that a lot of people have kind of forgotten about, though, and Nick Anderson.
Mm,
Nick Anderson should be back next month. And he's the guy who basically was the closer in Tampa. He's getting solid 60, 70, 80% of the opportunities, then got hurt, has had setbacks, but he could come back at some point. And in the immediate, maybe Adam is the guy, but
hmm
keep an eye on Nick Anderson. I believe he could be back sometime July, certainly by August, and that might be 2 months of a very good pitcher as a closer on a good team. So just kind of want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a guy to monitor. I think as far as if you're just desperate for saves, it's a weekly league. One save will keep you satisfied. You've also got to look at Colin Posh and Brooks Raley. Those guys are lefties, which I kind of prefer Adam being the righty. But they could easily
They'll
sneak in
mix
a
and
save.
match. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
I
winning
mean,
team, so
if
they're going to get
until
saves.
they maybe let's just for argument's sake, we're trying to find saves for the next 6 to 8 weeks until Anderson comes back and maybe gets that job. For argument's sake, we'll say that there's a good chance that maybe they get 15 opportunities in that time, let's say, and
hmm
that no one gets more than 6 or 7 opportunities, and
Yeah,
none of those three guys get less than 3 or 4 opportunities. It's going to be mixed and matched. So the guy you want, they all have a chance for saves. The guy you want is the one that can rack up the strikeouts and help your ratios.
yeah. I think the benefit of Colin Posh, Jason Adam, and Brooks Raley is I do think that they're a step above your Ryan Thompsons and Matt Whistlers. So I think that they're going to be more trusted, but they also could be getting JP Fireeisen back, who is amazing. I mean, this is just a team that has
He's
six or
the
seven.
guy I would look at if he was
Yeah,
healthy. If he was
yeah.
healthy, he'd be the obvious choice.
This is just such a crowded team that I think if you're going to pick up one of their players, you need to go into the expectation that no saves are guaranteed and you're just hoping for clean ratios and maybe you get a save or two if you get lucky. So you got to keep your expectations a little bit low.
We're with you there. Let's move over to the add him, cut him section. Give me your ads.
Right. Yeah, so I think that this guy's a play in even 12 team leagues. Daniel Lynch is going to get a start against Oakland next week. Lynch has been up and down. You know, he's shown some good swing and miss here and there. He's also shown some blow-ups as well, but I think against Oakland, a team that's 29th in the MLB in WOBA, I think that that's a safe start.
All right. Anybody else?
Yes, another guy that's rostered in only 45% of the 12-team leagues on NFBC online championship leagues. Oscar Gonzalez, outfielder for the Cleveland Guardians. He's looking to supplant, a full-time role, situate a full-time role for himself.
He's
He has
earning it
good.
right now. That's for sure.
Yep, he's got that good contact, a little bit of power. I think that 24 years old could be a keeper. So I like him since five outfielders. There's so many platoons. I like it there.
All right. And how about some cuts?
Yeah, a guy that I kind of formulate these lists and try to give some names that maybe wouldn't be fully expected. Your obvious names and looking through the percentage owned and started over on NFBC, I saw Eric Hosmer was actually rostered in 83% of online championship 12 teamers. Now those leagues, Lou, the waiver wire is so rich compared to 15s. You're just looking for upside. So I think that there is a place for everyday at bats, but I think you can do a lot better than Eric Hosmer, who's
In
been
12
pretty
teamers,
brutal.
absolutely. 15 teamers, I'm
Yeah,
holding.
I agree. And I was just surprised to see him so highly owned in a league where you want upside.
I'm with you there. Anybody else? Some more injured players, perhaps?
Yeah, injured players. I saw Jean Segura was owned in about half of those 12-team leagues. I think you can make much better use out of that spot since he could be missing, 10 to 12 weeks. And another guy who's yet to even throw the ball after having a forearm issue, which we all know is scary. Jesus Luzardo, rostered in about 50% of those 12-team leagues as well. Just, I get that there's some upside, but it's just too much risk, and he's not even throwing, so that's just scary.
I would definitely be cutting Lizardo. Segura, I would try to hold on to, but probably not either. He's going to miss a significant amount of time, right? So I'm
Yep.
with you there on cutting all of those guys for sure. This has been the LouCas Baseball Podcast brought to you by drroto.com. Lou Landers, Lucas Beery. Thanks for tuning in to LouCas Baseball, and we'll catch you next time.